In the fast-paced world of American politics, where change often feels like an endless cycle of proposals and counter-proposals, one man stands at the center of it all, President Donald Trump. But what if I told you that the key to understanding his approach lies not in individual policies, but in a broader, almost theatrical strategy, a strategy he calls the weave. Picture this: one economic proposal after another, tossed out with little clarity or detail, yet somehow all interwoven into a singular, powerful narrative. The housing market, interest rates, gas prices, it all sounds chaotic, doesn't it? But Trump insists there's brilliance behind the madness. I do the weave, he says. 9 issues all swirling together, yet each one leads to a single unified vision. It's a bold claim, but is it really that brilliant? Before you dismiss it as political theater, consider this. Trump's economic proposals touch on what matters most to Americans right now: affordability. Yet, he refuses to acknowledge the real problem. He dismisses the very word affordability as a mere fabrication of the Democrats. So, what exactly is the weave? And can it truly deliver the change Trump promises, or is it just an illusion? Stay with me as we break down the reality behind this weave, starting with the heart of the matter: affordability. Let's dive into the core issue as we explore how Trump frames the problem and his bold solutions. At the heart of Donald Trump's economic rhetoric lies a problem that has plagued millions of Americans: the high cost of living. But here's the twist: Trump doesn't see it as a problem at all. In fact, he dismisses it as a fabrication of the left, a fake word designed to stir up panic. This claim, however, overlooks a basic truth that resonates deeply with ordinary Americans. Wages have stagnated, yet prices continue to soar. Housing costs rise faster than salaries, gas prices are an ongoing concern, and credit card debt seems to be an unavoidable burden. Trump's approach, though, is simple yet bold. He refuses to acknowledge the weight of affordability as it stands. Instead, he asserts that the solution lies in his weave, a series of proposals that at first glance may seem like a scattershot approach. From restricting institutional investors from purchasing homes to demanding massive changes in the oil and gas sectors, Trump's strategy is far-reaching and varied. But is this the right diagnosis? Does dismissing affordability as a fake issue actually solve anything, or is it merely a way of shifting the blame? What does Trump believe is the real solution to these growing concerns? Let's dive deeper into his approach as we uncover the mechanisms behind his proposals. Before we explore his solutions, it's crucial to understand the historical context. Where did this economic turmoil come from? Let's take a look at the origins of the issues at hand. To understand where we are today, we need to look back to the cycles of boom and bust that have shaped the modern American economy. The high cost of living didn't appear overnight. It's the result of decades of economic policy, market forces, and yes, political decisions that have led to an ever-widening gap between what people earn and what they must spend to survive. In the wake of the 2008 financial crisis, the housing market crashed, sending shockwaves through the economy. While recovery followed, it was uneven. Wages barely budged, while housing prices shot up. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve's policy of low interest rates meant to stimulate the economy inadvertently fueled inflation and made borrowing more expensive in the long run. Fast forward to today, and we're faced with a housing crisis, soaring healthcare costs, and a credit system on the brink. These are the realities that Trump must confront, but his approach, it's built on the same flawed assumptions that have failed us before. But does Trump's weave hold the key to breaking these cycles, or is it simply repeating the same mistakes? Let's look at the first moment of crisis in this weave. Let's examine the first major event in this ongoing economic drama, the housing crisis, and see how Trump's proposals are attempting to address it. The first piece of Trump's economic puzzle is one that hits home for millions of Americans: the housing market. For years, the price of homes has skyrocketed, leaving many families struggling to find affordable places to live. As supply fails to meet demand, rents soar, and homeownership becomes a distant dream for a growing number of people. Trump's solution? A bold move, banning institutional investors from buying single-family homes. On the surface, this sounds like a plan that could bring relief to struggling families by increasing the housing supply and making homes more affordable. But here's where the weave gets complicated. While it may seem like a straightforward solution, it raises a host of questions. How exactly would this ban be enforced? Could it lead to unintended consequences, such as stifling investment in housing development or pushing home prices even higher in some areas? Moreover, there's the matter of execution. Can a presidential order truly change the housing market, or would it require complex legislative action that's unlikely to pass through Congress? And then there's the question of whether banning institutional investors is the real issue. Perhaps the problem lies deeper in the economic system, a system that Trump's weave may not fully address. Is this the breakthrough the housing market needs, or a distraction from the real issue? Let's move on to the next crisis in Trump's economic plan. Now that we've seen how Trump tackles housing, let's explore the underlying mechanisms behind his broader economic philosophy and how they might shape these proposals. Trump's economic proposals, though bold, don't exist in a vacuum. They are part of a larger mechanism that seeks to reshape the very fabric of the American economy. At the core of his weave is the belief that markets can be manipulated, bent and shaped to serve his vision. Whether it's lowering interest rates, bringing oil prices down, or limiting corporate influence, Trump's approach is grounded in a deep distrust of the status quo. He believes that by simply adjusting the levers of power, whether through executive action or public pressure, he can set things right. Take, for example, his push to lower interest rates. Trump has been vocal about his desire for the Federal Reserve to reduce rates, arguing that this would stimulate the economy. But this simplistic view ignores the complex realities of monetary policy. Lower rates can lead to inflationary pressures and greater wealth inequality as the rich get richer while the average citizen is left with fewer opportunities. Similarly, his calls for greater oil drilling in Venezuela and slashing credit card interest rates are rooted in the idea that the government can simply will lower prices into existence. But is this sustainable? Can these actions actually solve the underlying issues, or are they just short-term fixes that mask deeper economic problems? This is the danger of Trump's weave. It simplifies complex issues into easily digestible sound bites without fully accounting for the consequences of these actions. Will these hidden mechanisms work in Trump's favor, or will they unravel under scrutiny? Let's look at the second mini-crisis in his economic vision. As we move into the second crisis, we'll explore the next challenge in Trump's plan and see if it creates the ripple effect he hopes for or if it accelerates the instability. The second crisis in Trump's economic narrative revolves around an issue that has long been a source of political turmoil: gas prices. In an attempt to control the spiraling costs at the pump, Trump has pushed for more aggressive oil drilling policies, specifically targeting Venezuela. His reasoning? More oil production would lead to lower prices, directly benefiting American consumers. This push, however, faces significant resistance. Oil executives such as the CEO of ExxonMobil have dismissed the idea, calling Venezuela uninvestable. The country's political and economic instability, not to mention the lack of infrastructure, makes it a risky proposition at best. Yet Trump, undeterred, remains adamant. This is the second mini-crisis in his economic weave. On one hand, it represents a desperate attempt to fix a tangible problem: high gas prices. But on the other, it illustrates Trump's flawed understanding of global markets. Pushing for oil production in an unstable region may temporarily lower prices, but it could also come at the cost of long-term geopolitical instability. Moreover, this move raises a troubling question. Is this the kind of leadership that can truly solve America's energy crisis, or is it just a short-term political maneuver designed to win votes? Can Trump's oil gambit lower prices, or will it only create more chaos in the global market? Let's examine how this crisis affects the American people in the next part of the weave. Now that we've seen how Trump tackles the gas crisis, let's look at the real-world impact on the American people, the very citizens he claims to defend. While Trump's economic proposals may sound good in theory, the real question remains, how do they affect the people? The ones who feel the brunt of these decisions every single day. For ordinary Americans, the high cost of living isn't just an abstract concept, it's a harsh reality. The average family is grappling with rising housing costs, soaring medical bills, and stagnant wages. But when Trump talks about these issues, his words often seem detached from the struggles of everyday people. Take his credit card interest cap proposal, for instance. On the surface, it seems like a win for consumers, limiting rates and saving families billions. But the reality is more complex. Lower interest rates could prompt credit card companies to reduce credit availability, hike fees, or limit rewards programs. Those who need access to credit the most might find it harder to qualify, or worse, face higher costs elsewhere. Then there's his rhetoric on gas prices. While Trump promises lower prices through increased drilling, it's not clear how that will directly benefit working-class families. The volatility of global oil markets means that price changes often have little to do with domestic production and even less to do with the needs of the average consumer. For the American people, Trump's promises may seem like a lifeline, but they also carry an undertow of uncertainty. Are these policies designed to help, or are they just part of the political theater, with ordinary Americans left to deal with the fallout? The consequences of Trump's proposals are still unfolding. How will these changes really impact the people he claims to represent? Let's explore how his economic vision ripples across the globe. Now we turn to the global stage. How will these domestic proposals impact the international order and geopolitics? Let's see the bigger picture. Trump's domestic economic policies don't exist in isolation. In fact, they're bound to send shockwaves across the global stage, influencing everything from international trade to geopolitical stability. Take, for example, his push to increase oil production in Venezuela. This isn't just an economic strategy, it's a geopolitical gamble. Venezuela's turmoil isn't just a domestic issue, it's part of a wider regional and global energy equation. By pushing for more drilling in a country beset by economic chaos and international sanctions, Trump is inviting both opportunity and risk. What does this mean for the global oil market? In the short term, it could theoretically lead to lower oil prices, benefiting consumers in the U.S. However, the long-term consequences could be destabilizing. The instability in Venezuela could worsen, potentially drawing the U.S. into deeper conflicts or leading to unintended alliances that could disrupt American interests abroad. Beyond energy, Trump's other economic moves, like pressuring companies to cap credit card rates, are likely to ripple outwards too. International businesses and markets will watch closely. How could these actions affect U.S. trade relations, particularly with countries that rely on American financial institutions? And if these domestic moves spark instability or backlash, what might that mean for global investors? In short, Trump's economic weave doesn't just affect the U.S., it affects the global balance. And the full consequences may not be clear for years to come. The global stage is now in play. But what does the future hold for this complex web of policies? Let's look ahead at 3 potential scenarios. As we look to the future, it's time to consider what's next for Trump's economic agenda. What are the likely outcomes of this turbulent economic path? Let's examine the 3 potential scenarios. As we stand on the precipice of an uncertain future, the question remains, what will be the ultimate impact of Trump's economic policies? Will they lead to a prosperous America, or will they spiral into further chaos? Scenario 1, the best-case scenario. The weave comes together. In the best-case scenario, Trump's policies are executed flawlessly. Housing prices fall as institutional investors are sidelined, providing relief to families struggling to afford homes. Interest rates drop, bringing relief to borrowers. Gas prices fall as oil production in Venezuela increases, and the global market stabilizes. Credit card companies adapt to the new cap, and the American public feels the positive impact of lower costs across the board. In this scenario, Trump's vision succeeds in creating a more affordable America, free from the economic pressures that have long burdened citizens. His weave would have woven together the separate threads of his proposals into a coherent, prosperous future. Scenario 2, the middle ground, progress, but shortcomings in the middle ground. Trump's policies yield some positive results, but not without serious trade-offs. Housing affordability improves, but at the cost of market instability. The push for drilling in Venezuela leads to temporary price reductions, but the geopolitical risks and the environmental impact become more evident. While interest rates drop slightly, inflationary pressures begin to rise, threatening the very relief the public was hoping for. In this scenario, Trump's economic vision brings short-term benefits, but reveals the limitations of his weave. The American public sees some progress, but is left grappling with unforeseen consequences and deepening divisions. Scenario 3, the worst-case scenario. The weave unravels. In the worst-case scenario, Trump's economic policies fail to take root. Legislative challenges prevent his proposals from being enacted. Oil prices remain volatile, credit card companies find ways to bypass the rate cap, and housing remains out of reach for most Americans. His scattershot approach leaves the country more divided than ever, with no clear path forward. In this scenario, the weave falls apart, the promised solutions fail to materialize, and the American people are left with empty promises and a sense of betrayal. The future of Trump's economic vision is uncertain, but one thing is clear: the stakes are high. Which scenario will unfold in the coming years? Now, as we wrap up, let's reflect on the deeper lessons we can draw from this complex web of policies. What insights can we take away from this turbulent journey, and where does it leave us as a nation? As we reflect on the whirlwind of economic proposals that Donald Trump has unleashed, one thing stands clear: his approach to America's economic challenges is anything but conventional. The weave may appear chaotic, but at its core, it is a reflection of a broader, deeper belief in the power of direct action and simple solutions to complex problems. Yet, as we've seen, the consequences of this strategy are far from straightforward. From housing affordability to global oil markets, Trump's proposals touch on some of the most pressing issues of our time. But whether they will deliver lasting solutions or unravel under the weight of their own contradictions remains uncertain. Here's the key takeaway: the world of politics and economics is complex. Simple solutions rarely address the underlying issues that drive change. While Trump's proposals may provide temporary relief, they may also sow the seeds of future instability if not carefully thought through. In the end, the question is not just about whether the weave will hold together. It's about whether we as a nation can navigate this ever-changing landscape with wisdom, foresight, and a sense of shared responsibility. The future of America's economy rests in the hands of those who understand the nuances of these challenges. It's up to us to decide: will we fall for the simplicity of easy fixes, or will we push for lasting change that addresses the real roots of our economic crises? Stay tuned as we continue to analyze and dissect the ongoing economic battles that will shape the next chapter of our nation's future.